Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddham dhammang sanghang namasami. Dear friends, we have entered the Vesak season, and I thought it would be nice to take a meditation theme for tonight, thinking about the beloved, inspiring teacher, the Kalyanamita, the one who lifts up our hearts and makes us feel inspired, the one who helps us. So, in the Brahma Viharas, there's loving kindness, there is compassion, there is sympathetic joy, and there is equanimity. So my thought is to particularly focus on that anumodana, that rejoicing, that sympathetic joy in the wonderful qualities of the Buddha. Or you may picture some living teacher who has been really great for you, who was the one who opened a way for you to discover the Dhamma. So let's go right straight ahead and come into a meditation posture. Undertaking a balanced and upright posture. Aware of the physical body in the space where you are, feeling the pressure of the body on the seat or the cushion. And aware of the state of mind, whatever mood we brought into this space with us. Could be excitement or any kind of thinking or emotions that we had before this, and allowing those other states of mind to gently drop away, so that we're just coming into the space for meditation. And coming back in more detail to the sensations of the body. Scanning from the head to toe. Noticing any sensation touching the body. And at each part of the body, relaxing, letting the body become more calm, releasing any tensions or tightness, just letting the body relax. Letting the body be calm and letting the mind be calm. And then bringing to mind the great Dhamma teacher, the one who has realized. Imagine that teacher in the room with you, in meditation with you. Seeing the teacher's stillness and upright posture in meditation. Their deep clarity of seeing. Their unification of mind. The teacher's mind can encompass your mind. The teacher can see you and know what is within you. Imagine being held in that gaze of the teacher in the stillness of meditation. Imagine the teacher's kindness towards you, wanting only for your happiness, your spiritual success. And imagine the teacher's purity with no anger or irritation at all, no greed, no conceit, nothing like that. Just the pure gaze of wisdom and kindness. And sitting in silence now for a little while, keeping that image of the teacher being held in the teacher's gaze, keeping that alive for this meditation. being held in the meditation energy of the teacher. Feeling the teacher's goodwill and wise intention for our welfare, happiness, and spiritual success. And choosing for our own selves all that good which a perfectly wise, perfectly compassionate teacher would want for us. Well, since deciding about this theme for tonight's program, I have been trying for the past week or so to keep the Buddha constantly in mind and just sort of seeing how that is as a theme of contemplation to carry around throughout the day. It made me remember something that I learned a while ago about how in the monastic training, when we are learning mindfulness of the body internally and externally, someone who's a novice or a beginner would first try to be aware of their own body in terms of the different postures. When you're sitting, know that you're sitting. When you're standing, walking, reaching, any posture of the body, just know what you're doing at that time. That's internal. And then externally, directing awareness to the senior monastic or the senior bhikkhuni who is your primary teacher, and being aware when they are sitting, when they are standing, when they are reaching, when they are eating. Noticing, say, in the meditation posture, the teacher has an upright posture, being very still in the body. Or when standing, that they stand up in a graceful way. Or when walking, they walk very quietly. Or when coming to open the door, they pause for a moment before reaching and opening the door, and then open the door and close the door quietly. And when listening, having a kind of a stillness that they're really open and paying attention to what they're listening to. Or when speaking, that they have a brief pause before speaking, and you can almost like see the wheels turning, that the teacher is thinking about the criteria of wise speech in order to speak in that way. And so just by like keeping the teacher in mind and watching this, that then gradually those qualities, those good habits can be incorporated. So then one can go back and forth, being aware internally and externally with one's own body and the teacher's body. And then subsequently to that, one can expand the field of the external awareness of the body and be aware of all the bodies of the people in the room, so that then if one is in a meeting or a class with a group of people and one of the people is very calm and centered, or one of the people is joyful with bright eyes, they're really paying attention, or one of the people is showing some other kind of emotion, you can just notice those things and intuitively pick up all the different currents of what's going on with the various people who are like within the space. So that's a kind of a way in which the way that I got so much benefit during the years that I was with my primary original teacher was Pantaji, just being able to be around and being able to see how he is, how he lives. And the same way with the Buddha, we don't necessarily have the opportunity to be in the room with the Buddha and to physically see how he is. We can only read the stories and hear the testimonials to the other disciples in the time of the Buddha who spoke about the impact he had, and hear the voice of the Buddha in terms of the teachings that he gave and the qualities of the mind that are reflected in those teachings. And then in that way, we can have some kind of an impression and try to keep in mind maybe that it's some kind of a blend of what a composite of what we would imagine to be an ideal teacher from the most wonderful teachers that we have known in the flesh during this lifetime, and then what we've read and what we've learned about the Buddha of the ancient time. There's something that happens, even you can imagine, between a mother and a child. Say if the child is a baby or very small, that the mother is always keeping the child in mind, like being aware of the child, being aware of what's going on, whether the child is, resting or alert or in distress or happy or needing something or wanting something, and just having that awareness. And then also there's so much like mirroring going on when there's those first conversations, and the baby's consciousness is being formed through those interactions. And the mother may say, like, oh, see the bunny? There's a little bunny. It's a bunny. Can you say bunny, bunny? And then and directing, by pointing, like seeing where her eyes goes, and then the baby is learning how to point the eyes in the direction in order to see the bunny. So just the same way through those early years of having that bond of like this keeping in mind, paying attention, then it builds up some kind of a living connection between the child and the mother. And then it could be that possibly 50, 60, 70 years later, even if a mother has passed away, that nevertheless something has been created within us that has got some kind of like a living a connection to the mother, that we can bring mother to mind. There's a book I read during my retreat called A Secular Age. It's by a Western philosopher who Charles Taylor. he's examining the cultural development in the Western world from the Middle Ages up to the modern times. And he pointed out that in like in the Middle Ages of Europe, perhaps similar to other traditional cultures in different parts of the world, there were so many festivals and memorials throughout the calendar that one was constantly reenacting the life of Jesus through all of the events that were happening throughout the year. And those events of the Christian calendar were then very tied up and connected to the certain activities that happened in the present time, like the time for planting, the time for harvesting, the time for growing, the time for putting up the fruit, the time for going to market. All of these activities of the calendar year in agriculture then are tied together with this other time. So it's like there was like God's time and human time, and they were sort of nested together in a kind of like a telescope. And in the same way, there were kind of like relationships that were done like these metaphors or symbols were much more real in the old days than they are nowadays. So you could say that I'm using this Western example, say between Jesus and the rose, Jesus is the king of people, and the rose is the king of the flowers, and the lion is king of the animals. And so Jesus is more like a rose than he is like a bad person, or he's more like a lion than he's like a bad person. And so then there's time and space is experienced at this kind of like this psychological level. But in modern times, starting with the like the Enlightenment times, 17th century, and getting more and more exaggerated coming into the modern times, like time and space got to be very flat and mechanical, so that every minute is the same as every other minute. And so then whatever happened, 2,000 years ago, or what happened 5,000 years ago, or 1,000 years ago, or in any distant time has got that, mechanical distance, and we no longer feel that kind of closeness. And so something has been lost when we got into this kind of like a clockwork universe where things have that flat and mechanical quality. When I first encountered Buddhism, at that time I was really against superstition, and I was very attracted to the way that the Dhamma was so rational and so like realistic, that it was always starting with things that were like absolutely common sense, anybody could understand. If you say aging is dukkha, birth is dukkha, aging is dukkha, being separated from what you love is dukkha, getting what you don't like is dukkha, even anybody can understand these things because they're just sensible. And then the teachings sort of build up from that base of what's readily available for anybody to experience. But at the same time, there is another aspect of the teachings which has that kind of magical realism to it. In the Mangala Sutta, it says, thus I have heard, at one time the Buddha was dwelling at Savatthi in Jetavana's grove and Atapindika's park. Then in the dark of the night, a deva, a god of astounding beauty, appeared in the nighttime, lighting up the entire night. And that deva approached the Buddha and asked the questions about the supreme blessings. I even was thinking that I should retranslate it, instead of saying at one time the Buddha dwelt at Savatthi, I should say once upon a time the Buddha was living in Savatthi. And in fact, all of those are given, they're not expressed in the Pali, it's not in the past tense, it's given in the present tense. So actually what it says is, once upon a time the Buddha lives in Savatthi. And then this deva of astounding beauty appears, and she asks. And so then, like this time, the time of the suttas is actually right, like here and now for me, when I am able to encounter those teachings. So I can be with those teachings, or like with the Buddha in the present moment. And this allows me to get out of the rigid framework of rational science and to open my heart and keep the Buddha in mind, the same way that a small child could keep the mother in mind. So I keep the Buddha in mind as if the Buddha is my mother, or my mother and my father. I have a sutta to share with you that will show that I'm not just completely wandering away from, the proper teachings. This is called the hem of the robe, and it's in the Anguttara Nikaya. It's in the threes, and it's 3.92, the hem of the robe. The Buddha said, bhikkhus, even though a bhikkhu might hold on to the hem of my robe and follow close behind me step by step, if he is covetous for objects of desire, strongly passionate, malevolent, corrupt in thought, unmindful, uncomprehending, unconcentrated, of wandering mind and uncontrolled faculties, he is far from me, and I am far from him. What is the reason? That bhikkhu does not see Dhamma. Not seeing Dhamma, he does not see me. Bhikkhus, even though a bhikkhu might live 100 leagues away, if he is not covetous for objects of desire, not strongly passionate, not malevolent, uncorrupt in thought, with mindfulness established, clearly comprehending, concentrated, of unified mind and controlled faculties, he is close to me, and I am close to him. What is the reason? That bhikkhu sees Dhamma. Seeing Dhamma, he sees me. A wise person who by direct knowledge has fully understood the Dhamma becomes desireless and tranquil, like a calm, unruffled lake. See how close he is to him, a desireless one to the desireless, one quenched to the quenched, the greedless one to the one without greed. Now, I would like to hear what questions you have about this teaching or this idea, or if you would be willing to share what qualities of the Buddha are qualities that seem alive to you, or if you would be willing to share whether the guided meditation that I offered, whether there was anything that you could experience imagining being like in the presence of a really great teacher and a great meditator, being within the meditation field of consciousness shared with that teacher. So now I'm going to welcome your questions. You may raise your hand or you may type a question into the chat. Okay, Patipada.
Thank you, Aya. This was a really beautiful process to experience. Focusing on the teachings and the qualities of the teacher is what I aspire to develop. So to be able to put all of my focus on that, one of the things that came to mind when you were talking about the Buddha and focusing on the Buddha in every moment is the concept of the deathless. The Buddha's aliveness in the moment to connect. There's no death, so the Buddha never died. Yes, he said he will not be attaining any rebirths anytime soon. But knowing that the being and the source and the being as a source is available is just a really exciting concept for me. That it isn't like someone's buried in the ground and that's it. The transition in his parinibbana, when he says to the bhikkhus to look to our own light inside, to be an island unto ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
What it points to for me is the Buddha nature within is what we need to focus our attention to. But does that make sense? Or am I kind of off on a tangent here?
No, you're not, absolutely not off on a tangent. The Buddha was very careful in expressing when people were very often asking about whether he existed whether does the Tathagata exist after death, or does the Tathagata not exist? Does the Tathagata both exist and not exist, and so on? And the Buddha sidestepped those questions. In effect, that entering into the deathless, it's a different realm. It's not like going to eternal heaven or anything like that, but it is where birth and death and time and causation and karma and the rewards and punishments resulting from karma and causation and all of that's like the cage that we're in, that keeps going around and around. That's our merry-go-round, and it's
Right.
it's a structure. It's the only world we know. And then
Mm-hmm.
the Tathagata, the well-gone one, is outside of
Outside of
that,
that. Yes. Yes.
completely.
Right.
Um,
Mm.
and then the idea of the Buddha within, I think, is also definitely very valid and supported by the early texts. You know, a Buddha is to be a Buddha means to be awake, and in the early days, like when the Buddha came to be, it was said that there were like a lot of Buddhists around, a lot of beings around who were said to be awake.
Mm-hmm.
And he knew of there many like through his divine eye, he could see, so many Buddhists of the past who would be like the Samma Sambuddhas, those who revived the teachings and gave the teachings to the whole world. And
Mm-hmm.
then also what's called silent Buddhists or private Buddhists, beings who didn't teach. They were, like they were alone. They were in the forest. They were not public,
Mm-hmm.
but they were awake, fully awake, and
Right.
so thinking that the world is, filled with beings who are awake or beings who have got that potential for awakening, that
Mm-hmm.
is just, able to pop like that.
Mm-hmm.
And doesn't it make the world magical?
Yes.
Think it can be such beings in the world.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Hey, this is Damon.
Okay.
I was very taken today for the first time reading about a Thai Buddhist nun who died in 1978, who is said to be the greatest woman lay teacher in the last century. And this is the first time I'm hearing about her. And so I read some of Ajahn Svesano's translations of her talks. And, she has such a simple approach and instruction and really emphasizes non-identification with thoughts and feelings and mental states. And I just can't pronounce her name. And do you know of her? And
Would it be Mechi Kao?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. She's the book that was written about her life and teachings is one of the most inspiring books we have about a contemporary person.
Really?
Yeah.
What about her? At first I found the book to be very dense and very repetitive. However, it seems like the central point, she keeps making reference to overcoming defilements through concentration, first on breathing, then on body, then most importantly on mental states. And then from what I can glean, she emphasizes just completely disowning and renouncing your thoughts and the states and any pain that you happen to be in and so forth, which is very fairly simple instructions. And yet she is said to be so profound.
Yes. It's, of course, it's a beautiful one. One who has realized is able to describe it in such simple and memorable terminology.
I see.
But then doing it, of course, is challenging, can be challenging. But it's certainly true that the bhavana, or the meditation, is an essential aspect of that breakthrough to wisdom. The meditation on the breath, on the body, on the states of mind. Now, those meditations have a foundation. And the foundation is that we're practicing the whole path of training in terms of the developing right view, developing virtue, having the thought of non-harming and renunciation and so forth, that more like a worldly or even at a materialistic way, so that if I realize that I'm, greedy for a particular kind of food, then I may think of this as like, if I see the danger, I say, wow, this, I should not tolerate, I shouldn't allow myself to give into this greed for this particular kind of food. And I should really do whatever I have to do to actually really let go of that, really let go of those preferences, and to become very neutral and very like indifferent to those kinds of preferences. And the same way that there's so many different kinds of conceit and identification that people have with their status in life, their position, their possessions, even their habits. I used to notice when I was younger, in a certain way, my mind was more flexible, and that now I'm a little bit older, and I'm noticing that my mind is naturally getting more like rigid. And so if I'm used to doing things having things be done a certain way, and then I go on a trip, and then I come back, and people started doing it differently, and I'm like, I feel that catching that unpleasant feeling because something changed. So like, oh, I wouldn't even realize that I was clinging to that, but so then this whole process is happening at, I'll say, it's sort of like a common, mundane, ordinary level of trimming away at that conceit and that identification. And then with that basis, then undertaking those meditations and being able to experience temporarily dropping out of those unwholesome mental habits during meditation. But then you have to go like even farther. This is what she's pointing to. Even the state of meditation, even though it's completely different from the ordinary state of mind, it's got so much freedom. It's like, it feels like nibbana. But then even that, you got to realize, even that is something that's fabricated. You got to renounce and renounce and renounce and renounce even those states. And that's how the process goes. So what we could say, what we realize, or what we're able to so-called like attainments. An attainment doesn't mean that we got something. An attainment means we let go of something. And the more we let go, the more we come into this different space, this space of freedom, and then have the chance to approach that kind of a breakthrough to awakening, which is, a state where there's both a seeing. It's described in the sutras as seeing reality so clearly, like a person standing by a pond, where the water is perfectly clear, and you can look down and you can see the seaweed and the seashells, shells, or the little fishes and the little mossy things waving in the water, and you can see every detail with a perfect clarity. But it's like you're not in the water, you're outside the water, you're looking into it. And so you're able to see into it with that certain kind of separation. And then the other part of the aspect of it is this complete elimination of what's called the corruptions or the taints of sensuality, clinging to the desire for any heaven or the desire for any particular status or birth or position, and ignorance, so that those it's like we're in a human body, and the body is like we have to be constantly taking in food, and the body is turning it into the different products in the body, like blood and pus and so forth, and turning it into shit and urine, and it's like we're just this is like it's the cage that we're in, and it's like the destruction of the taints is like at the psychological level coming out of that.
Mm. You seem as in awe of her as I did.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, so I'm new to Portland Friends, and I got a chance to be in the I guess it was Friday night. Rachel was there, and so this was my introduction. Was starting to read her work, and I would love to just learn more of her sort of straightforward practices. Is that something you folks at your monastery are sort of hold in esteem?
Well, it's one Dhamma. All I could say about that is that we're all depending on the Buddha. The early Buddhist text is what we depend on. And in the Thai tradition where Meiji Kao was trained, it's coming out of the same lineage, the same tradition.
Great.
Yeah.
I look forward to learning more. Thank you very much.
Okay, I'm pleased to meet you, and I'm glad that you joined our group tonight.
Thank you.
I heard that in terms of the devotion to the Buddha and sort of like the faith aspect, I don't know if this is true or not, but I heard that some Westerners find that the Theravada teaching is too dry, that it, or if they go to like a Vipassana meditation center, all they have is like meditation, and they don't have any ceremonies and no rituals, and no bells and smells, and no bowing and chanting, and not that aspect of faith and devotion. And so then some Buddhists are attracted more towards like the Mahayana or the Tibetan schools, because they see like a more of an embodiment of that faith practice. It's true that the Theravada, especially the way we're more like in the forest tradition, like the Thai tradition is also like a forest tradition, and so it is kind of like a more. We aspire to be more completely simplified, humble, just a simple monk with the robes going on arms around, and enjoying being in the forest or being with nature, and without really elaborated glorious castles of Buddhism, that are extremely fancy, but at the same time, the devotion is really a wonderful asset. And if you're just trying to, like Americans, we think that so we're Americans, so we can do anything because it's part of our American privilege, and then so we think we can just read a couple of books and get enlightened, and then because then we don't realize those fruits so quickly, then people can become discouraged or depressed about it, and they don't know, it's like how to keep hope alive, how to keep going on the path it may take a period of many years for this wisdom to become clear and to gradually mature and to become integrated into our psychology or into our way of thinking, so that then gradually, we're able to see it. They say that in the different levels of realization, there's kind of like a scale, and the very entry level scale is what they call a faith follower. And I kind of I love being a faith follower. I have no idea what, because of the previous causes and conditions that brought me so far, I don't know what I'm going to be capable of in this lifetime.
Mhm.
All I know is this path is wholesome. Staying on this path leads to the gradual reduction and calming of suffering. And I could see that some pieces of dukkha that I had when I was much younger are definitely completely gone and not coming back in this lifetime. But I nevertheless, as with that faith follower kind of attitude, I just want to stay on the path and not wander and not stop. So if I got instructions on how to get to New York, and I got as far as Detroit or something, and then lost interest in going to New York. That's a lot of people do that. But to be a faith follower means you're going to keep going, going, don't give up, and do whatever you need to do to keep the Dhamma continuing to grow and mature within you.
Great. It reminds me of almost like something from my Judeo-Christian, growing up in this culture. Sometimes my Christian colleagues also seem to have this lovely faith following type of mentalities, even in the face of a lot of ridicule and so forth.
It's one of the types of like a basic religious personality. Some people have mystical experiences, and they're able to like dwell with that and feel connected with the ultimate truth. Some people have some kind of glimmer about the ultimate, but they feel the separation. This is the most painful kind of spiritual quest, when it's like you believe in God, or you believe in Nibbana, the promise of this Buddhist path, or the ultimate level of realization within a spiritual tradition, but you feel that because of your sinful nature that you're far away from it, and so that's really painful. And then the third type is the one who is aware that there's this gap, this distance, so we still have a lot of like bad tendencies. We can lose our temper, or we can, have unwholesome things can still keep coming up. But nevertheless, we've got that confidence in the path. And so we don't suffer because of the distance between where we're at right now and the ultimate. One expression, I heard this from Bhante Sujato, it's about the gradual training that was offered in many different ways in the original teachings in the early Buddhist texts. Bhante said, it's like we're down fighting with the alligators down in the swamp. And the Buddha didn't just point to the snow-covered peak of the mountain and said, well, just go there. And instead, he showed the path. This is how you get on that road, which leads over from here over to there.
Yeah, that's great.
I see another hand. Ren, do you have a share?
Yeah. Today, all day, I've been sitting with a lot of fear and anxiety and uncertainty about a decision that I have agreed to on an agreement, and then I felt anxiety about maybe this person's not the right person to get into agreement with, and I don't really know how to deal with this feeling. Listening to denouncing of thoughts and feelings and anxiety. So on one hand, I'm thinking I could denounce it and get into that state, or maybe it's my intuition that I really need to investigate and figure out what to do.
Yeah.
Because if I change my mind, I could get into trouble. But if I follow it, I just feel so uneasy about it. I don't know what to do.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm so glad you asked that question. There is if anxiety is an unpleasant feeling. It's based on fear, which is a kind of aversion. And it's because of causes and conditions you're not yet a fully enlightened arhat, so you're still subjected to fear and anxiety. If you are trying to be like either in control of it or in denial of it or identifying with it, then it's kind of like you get to be in a kind of a cage where you're being either like pulled around by anxiety. Say, so I feel anxious and I have to do something to take care of my anxiety. So like somebody hurt me, And I need to walk away from that person and not have any contact with that person because they hurt me. Now, underneath of all of that is like fear. I don't want to get hurt again. But I need to accept it before I can let it go. And so if I'm able to like peel the onion a little bit, I get down to the level and say, wow, I'm afraid of being hurt. This is unpleasant. Or even when they did that, that hurt me. It was really, it was painful. It's painful to remember that. Then just being able to acknowledge and admit it, then it allows us to sort of relax and be still and to accept that that is the reality that we have at that time. If we're rejecting it and saying, it's not okay to be hurt, I don't agree with being hurt, and I'm going to throw up a big barrage of resistance and defenses in order to protect myself so that I don't get hurt, then I get into like a spinning in reaction to that a painful experience. So it's like first acceptance, and then I think if it's fear and anxiety, you have to be able to bring yourself to a space that's safe. And so this is like an inner process, and it could involve, like if something or a situation is not safe for you, it could mean sometimes that you've got to be able to speak up and say, this was not all right, or this was not safe, or to kind of like name it. Or it could just be a process of like internal healing, that you recognize the thing that you were afraid of, and you realize that you're able to let go of that fear. So I don't know the right answer, but don't just jumping to trying to say that thoughts are not real, I'm going to ignore them. I don't think that's the right way to do it. I think the first thing is to like have some compassionate acceptance to see what you got, what is, and then finding the way to make yourself safe. And then once if you can find some ground of safety, then in interaction with another person, you can find the compassionate and best way to relate to them. I don't think I can go too much further without spending a lot of time. But you should call me sometime, or else come over and visit, and I'd be happy to talk further about this. But I don't recommend taking the idea of non-identification or non-self or something to just try to brush it under the rug. The first step is self-compassion and acceptance, and then safety, then forgiveness, and then being able to do the right thing in terms of the decisions that we have to make.
Yeah, I don't think this is about the person per se, because it's a relative stranger. So I have anxiety about getting into an important agreement with a relative stranger.
Yeah.
So I think it's something about my fear mostly, perhaps. But I just wonder if there's something that I actually picked up subconsciously that really I should pay attention to. I really appreciate.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I appreciate your help. Thank you.
I'm trying to. I'm responding to a chat. Somebody asked for the name of that teacher, and I'm typing it into the chat here. Meiji Kao. So, oh, Kinanian. Oh, okay, that's a different person.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I think so.
No, I think
Is
it's
it the same person?
I think it's the same person. It's pronounced in as you just described, but for some reason it's spelled in a completely different way. Well, anyway, the name of the book is called Unentangled Knowing, Teachings of a Thai Buddhist Woman, Lay Woman,
Yes.
by Kao Seon Lung. Translated by Thinasaro Biko.
Right. Um, okay, so anyways, that question is answered. We've come past a little bit past the end of our allotted time. So I'd like to invite all of us to put your hands in Anjali and direct your awareness to an image or a picture of the Buddha that you might have in your own room, or else you can direct your awareness to the Buddha that is on the little screen here behind me, and give respects. The Lord, the perfectly enlightened and blessed one, I render homage to the Buddha, the blessed one. The teachings so completely explained by him, I bow to the Dhamma. The Blessed One's disciples who have practiced well, I bow to the Sangha. Dear friends, I'm offering a Zoom retreat starting this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday coming on the subject of awakening, the destruction of the asavas. If you would like to attend, you can come for any part of it. And it's described on our website at dhamma.net. So thank you all for your patient listening and your participation.
Thank you.